live. It looks like, what's happening, everybody? Everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. So, if you're watching this and you start getting bombarded by ads and it's after the live, what that basically means is that I haven't had a chance to go in and doctor up the video so that you're not getting bombarded by ads. It's something that YouTube does. So if that's the case, give it about a day. It usually takes 48 hours for these things to process. Once that happens, I can go in and clean that up. I realize I have some shirts falling out over here. There we go. Work-related swag. Anyway, hope everybody's having a fantastic, again, whatever it is, day that you're watching this. Kind of funny, again, we're working off of day, I don't know, pick a number that sounds big. We haven't heard anything from Dodge. We haven't heard anything from Mopar. We haven't heard anything from anybody really talking about what to expect, what's new to come, and really what we could hope to see coming in the future. Again, we're basically coming up on halfway through 2023. And remember that we were told, and especially it was insinuated, if nothing else, that we were going to have new cars, namely the Banshee and whatever else, was supposed to be coming down the pipe here pretty soon, and not just the insect, the Hornet, the whatever it is. Here's the problem with that. No Dodge guy or gal is looking at that and going, man, I can't wait to get my hands on one of those things. It's a small crossover SUV, and there's no way you can tart that thing up to make it cool. By the way, the ads are cringeworthy. I mean, they're cringeworthy in a way where when you see it, you just don't want to finish being on the receiving end of the message. Dude, have y'all seen it? The main ad I'm talking about is that news report thing, the end is near guy. It give me some of that stinger or whatever. I don't know what the guy's saying. It's kind of creepy. Anyway, not a good look, not a good play. And it's one of those things where you look at it really for more than about, 3 or 4 seconds, and you figure out pretty quickly it's just some contrived nonsense, man. So anyway, kind of funny, though, that's really the only thing we have to look forward to. The only car that we're having advertised to us, marketed to us, I should say, that we're seeing any advertising on is the Hornet. Nowhere in there is there, and nowhere has there been any talk, any word, any guidance from Dodge senior management or marketing about, hey, this is our new muscle car. Y'all remember that whole Brotherhood of Muscle thing? And you had a half-wasted sounding Vin Diesel when the original Demon was released, trying to shill for the company. And, again, the tire smoke and the rock and roll music and everything else. Remember all of that cool stuff? Well, you got to at least carry that branding forward, right? I mean, you can't necessarily think that, since you've spent the last how many of those years how many years have you spent putting those ads together only to go back on that now? I mean, it just feels weird. It's not a very good look. And the problem that I'm seeing right now is that there's so many Dodge guys that are moving away from the brand for a multitude of different reasons. And, we can go down the list. The newest Mustang is just simply extremely fast and wildly more, aftermarket friendly, if you will, although more than likely you'll have might have a harder time tuning some of the newer cars, but it doesn't really matter. The newer Mustang does really well. And by the way, trans tune in the Mustang, exceptionally good. All the different drive features in the Mustang, if you haven't driven one, they are very, very good. And I'll put it to you like this, they are the Mustang. And again, this is just the drive modes and the differences and all that. It is as far removed from the Mopar as the Mopar was from the cars of its era in 2015. that's a bit of a problem. And with the Mustang having real adjustable exhaust and a few other things, there's a reason why so many guys are moving from Dodge back to well, hell, look at that. Hold on, technical difficulties. One moment, please. Take a look at this ceiling. Time out. Hold, please. Oh, man, we got all kinds of mechanical malfunctions going on at one time. Hang on a minute. Hang on now. What's going on? Mass hysteria. Here we go. All right, there we go. Back in the mix. But you've got so many guys that are moving away from Ford right now, and again, for a multitude of reasons. And like I said, we just talked about the Mustang problem. Not many guys are going back to Chevrolet because typically, if you're a Chevy guy, you're just a Chevy guy. You didn't ever get into the Mopars at all. But here's the other thing. You say, oh, the theft thing. Well, first of all, there's a whole lot more Mustangs and Fords and everything else stolen than what you might think. So this thing is just giving me the red ass. Here you go. There's a whole lot more Fords and Chevys stolen than you might think. Don't get it twisted. All these modern cars can get ripped off. And, before I get into that part of it, don't forget that you've got just saw some dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. It's a Ghostbusters reference. Anyway, you've got, the whole lifter issue that's been going on with both Ford and Chevy. Again, don't get it twisted. Lots of Chevys having lifter problems, and every bit as much so, and it's as prolific, and in some cases even more so than Mopar. But getting back to it, the theft thing, guys, these cars have been getting ripped off. Not just these Mustangs, F-150s. Had a buddy of mine's F-150 got ganked in the parking lot of his hotel. All of these modern cars are relatively easy to steal. And unless you've got yourself some of these Faraday pouches, by the way, I picked up some more. We can talk about these in a little bit too. I'm going to talk about what I like and don't like about some of these Faraday pouches. And I'll give you guys a quick heads up as far as what I think happened to that other Faraday pouch to make it fail. But anyway, the whole theft thing, I'll tell you what, there is a non-zero number when it comes to these Mopar thefts that are, well, let's just say that they're insurance jobs. And I'll just come right out and say that. It is uncanny, the number of thefts that are taking place. And because people get it in their head that they're easy to steal, they modify these cars and end up with less than awesome, stellar results because of their tuning. Things go wrong, and you're faced with a real problem. So it's a super simple solution, especially if you have a car that's easily stolen and it's the most stolen car. Insurance job. A lot of guys get these things, they can't afford them. Insurance job. I mean, it happens to happen a lot. So I'm not saying that I know all of this is a real thing. For every one of them, that's obviously not the case. There's obviously cars that are out there that have been stolen. There's guys that have gotten their cars back. But the reality is that, again, it's a non-zero number, and it's really good if you can make it look like it got robbed. In other words, you pay some people some money. Their identities are concealed, but somehow or another, they happen to get your car and they run off with it. See, it's stolen. There's the thievery people. Anyway, the only reason why I say it like that is just because I know that it has happened, and I'll just leave it at that. So, all of that being said, though, a lot of people are moving away from Dodge because Dodge has moved away from their core clients. I mean, I can't even say their core customers, because really in this case, you're a client. And a client versus a customer, what's the difference? A customer is somebody that buys something from you. A client is somebody that has a relationship with you, and they buy because of that relationship. And so their clients, their buying clients are moving away. And that's the worst case scenario you can have for a brand that basically bases all of their, it bases all of their recidivism. In other words, all of their return business on the lifestyle that they are putting out there, that they're marketing. And when you don't have a product, you don't have a lifestyle. And that gets into the whole direct connection thing. And, it's neat that Dodge is giving these direct connection options to the Hellcat variant owners, whether it's a Hellcat, a Red Eye, a Demon, a Super Stock, a Track, whatever they're going to offer it for. That's great and all, but again, you have to look at those offerings for what they truly are, which is, it's just a gadget and a gizmo for guys that just want bragging rights. These are not true aftermarket tunes. Do not get it twisted, fellas. In fact, I'm waiting to see my first data log. I'm hoping to get it here pretty soon. That will tell us more or less what's going on with these cars. But unless you've got decent tuning and scanning software and the ability to both have the race tune in the car and scan it, it's going to be tough to get some specific parameters, especially if you're trying to run with that little Trinity gizmo, which is, like I say, it's a cute little gadget. I've got one still to this day. They're neat if you just need to plug in really fast and read knock retard or something like that. I mean, it's really all there is to it from a scanning point of view. But it's a hobby grade thing. It's not a professional grade unit, and you can see that just in the PIDs that it'll allow you to actually read from. And so far as I can tell, it's not all that impressive, at least not by the standards of people that actually do this or have done this for a living on any level, much less just on a base level or a pro level, I should say. So, and but the point that I was getting to is, forget about the NA crew. I mean, that those guys aren't going to get anything. Ram trucks, nothing. And then again, tipping into the vast number of guys with scat packs, that just absolutely got nowhere. The 5.7s always end up getting the wrong end of the stick on these things. But again, it's just the reality of the situation, man. They can make power with a boosted combination in a way that you just simply cannot make it with the NA crowd. And again, you're talking to somebody that has done so many power sweeps with NA combinations on a dyno, trying to get the last horsepower out of these things. And, yeah, there's only so much juice that's in that turnip, man. After a while, you just can't get any more out of it. A lot of that has to do with the fact that it's already really good from the factory, but, at some point, you just can't get any more out of it. The factory's done a really good job of extracting a lot of power from these things as it sits. I mean, look how the 6.4 compares to the 6.2 Chevy. They're both pushrod engines. Why did the 6.2 only make 455 and the 6.4 make 485? It's a big difference. So, but that's all fine. That's all good. Doesn't really matter. Let me get back to where I was going with all this. Dodge isn't giving us anything to work with as an enthusiast, and that's the biggest issue right here. We've got nothing to look forward to and nothing that even remotely resembles the products that we have all been enjoying since 2008. And really that kind of sums up my whole point here, is that they've got platforms that they can move forward with. They're just not giving us what we're looking for. So anyway, let me check in with you guys real quickly. Mark's saying, oh, damn, I'm so early. Yeah, Mark was in before we even got going. Mark's saying, there we go. What's up? And he's got the cadence. I like it with the flex and the bald guy with the glasses. I like that. Eric's saying, good evening, Professor B. Enjoyed the Fox Body video. Oh, yeah. So if y'all didn't get a chance to see it, so I did have a, what am I up to kind of video today. And I'm in the shop, in the garage, working on Foxy. And in this case, it was a lower radiator hose, and which on the surface, that's no big deal, right? You're talking $25, $20 or $30, whatever, for a hose. A little bit of a cut to fit type of a scenario, but no big deal. It's literally the most annoying thing about it is just draining the radiator. But and I didn't put this on the video, but top tip for the guys that are running with the aftermarket radiators: if you have a petcock that has an adapter, the adapter itself is threaded and it's going into your aluminum radiator, it's usually a brass fitting or a brass petcock in your internal like 8 or 10 millimeter actual petcock is inside of that. If you go to remove your petcock and the whole adapter moves, go ahead and remove that. Clean all the Teflon tape or Teflon, whatever thread sealant was on there. Mine came from the factory from Fluidine with with Teflon tape on it. Reseal it and then reinstall it after it's done with its draining. The reason why is if you get in there and you move that thing around, you can actually make it to where you can mess up the coating, the Teflon, it'll end up leaking. Kind of a top tip, and it's something that I learned years and years and years and years ago. It's really just more of a, pro tip. If you get in there and that happens, it's super easy to do. Just know that if you're going to get into that, do that when you are draining your radiator. Anyway, I was showing it and I thought, man, it'd be kind of fun to just, show you guys what I'm up to with Foxy. So it's basically just not really a rant, just kind of me making fun of Fox bodies, only in that every time I walk by that thing, it's just, I need money, so it's kind of a funny deal. I mean, it's not like it's ever really expensive to work on that thing. Well, it was when I had to put the clutch in it and the new radiator and a whole lot of other stuff. Anyway, ticks. Anyway, but I did get a chance to get the car out today. I didn't do any video with it, but that car is so much fun to drive. I mean, it's just obnoxiously fun to drive. And I'm lucky enough to where I live in an area where I've got access to some roads that I can play around with the car a little bit. And nothing ever fails to entertain nothing fails to entertain like a Mustang. That's not what I mean to say. Nothing is entertaining to drive as a Fox body Mustang because they're just fun cars. So anyway, I got a chance to enjoy the car for a little bit, which was cool, and that was really more in an effort to burp the cooling system, which everything went fine with that, and. But it's just like anything else. I mean, you get in there, you're playing with it. It's a Fox body. And so, Lord knows you're going to have all kinds of interesting and fun things that you'll notice along the way. And so, but yeah, that was what I was up to today. Sovereign Knight is in. Oh, I got the arm flex with the bald guy in the glasses. John saying, hey, mates, what's up, everyone? What's up, Jason? Sovereign saying, hit that like button. Mark saying, yeah. Like, subscribe, share. If it's your first time checking us out, hanging out with us, appreciate you stopping by. Consider hitting that subscribe button, if you will. Ring the bell. It means a lot. Let's see. Mark's saying those Hornet ads are terrible. They're trying to keep the same intensity as the Hemi-powered Mopar ads, but it'll never have that same feel because they're EV. Some of them are EV, and some of them are just boring. And that's the problem. I mean, you've built this brand based on all the America you could come up with, right? I mean, tire smoke. You even had George Washington in one of the ads back in the day. Y'all remember that? But the reality is that, all good things have got to come to an end, I guess. But it's also a great opportunity for a new beginning. And I mean, where's my Conquest at? Where's my 3000 GT or my VR4? Where's the cool stuff at? There's an opportunity here, and this is the thing that's just so depressing, is that what the hell just flew up my nose? There are so many options and so much of an opportunity here for Dodge to just show up and knock it out of the park. I mean, fingers crossed that they do. I just don't see that being the case, and I don't know. I will be very happy to be proven wrong with that, by the way. Nitroku saying, sup, be best Mopar show around. Thank you very much. I'm going to get a cramp. I like it. Got the cadence down. Sovereign's asking about the video that Racer X dropped. I saw part of it, but it's a Hornet. It's not even the GLH. The thing is that I've got to see the GLH. The rest of them, I just can't get it. Okay, let me put it to you like this. The Hornet would make a fantastic rental fleet. Not the GLH or whatever. Just the Hornet in general, that's a rental fleet. That's the kind of car that you get when you land in Tennessee and you got to go to Johnson City. That's the car that you take from the airport to Johnson City. Okay, that's what it's all about. I'm sorry to say it like that, but it's a rental car. It's a small crossover. I mean, what else would you do with it? Anyway. So Chuck's in. Hello. Sorry, whoops. Yeah, that's when everything fell. Dogs and cats living together. Mark said, on an unrelated note, I finally brought home a 309 limited slip for the RT. I'm so happy I could cry. Only 11,000 miles on it for 700. That's really good. Dutch is saying Ram might be getting the inline six. Hopefully. Here's the thing. Here's the funny thing. If you haven't seen the inline six, guys, anybody that's in and has ever been around inline turbo combination Supra, Barra, anybody that's done any of the turbo mods to any of the TB, the Trailblazer engines, any of that stuff, when you see this engine, you're just going to be like, oh my God, I can do so much with that. It's just, it's all just there. Okay. It would be so, at least in the Grand Wagoneer, I was looking at one in the Grand Wagoneer just thinking, my God, I could do so much. I could create so many problems, like the worst financial just ideas. And it's just, it would be so easy. They're electronically actuated wastegates, and they're just right there. Okay. I mean, the turbos are just right there on the driver's side of the engine. Guys, I'm not kidding. From a mod standpoint, it would just, I mean, you're just, you unbolt one turbo, put the other turbo on. I mean, reflash the computer and let her eat. I mean, it's going to be pretty cool. I cannot wait for those things to start hitting the market. If they come out in the trucks, then it would kind of follow suit when you think about it, because the Hemi first came in the trucks, and a lot of manufacturers, you'll see, the V8 hits the truck before it hits the car, whatever the case is. But Dodge kind of did that. They've got a little bit of a track record with that, I guess you could say. So I would be elated to see the Hurricane, both the 400 and the 500 horse in the trucks. And, if they put the 400 horse in the trucks, it would be a darn shame if they didn't put the 500. That would be something that I would never understand the logic behind. I mean, it's one thing if you've got a 392 or a 5.7. Oh, wait, no, it didn't, because it's the same basic block, at least in terms of dimensions. Why did they ever put the 6.4 in the half-ton truck? Why they didn't, I will never understand. Anyway, getting back to it. Sovereign saying, like, subscribe, share. Hanging out with Chuck. Chuck saying, cheers. Mark's saying that George Washington had that SRT8. Yeah, they did. Maybe Dad. Hornet is a Chevy Trax from Dodge. Nothing to see here. There's a lot of people that would agree with that. So Sovereign's asking, I think the Banshee body will see a gasoline variant. So here's the thing. Technically, use air quotes with this. Technically, the STLA large platform is a hybrid platform. And what that means is that it could be gasoline, so internal combustion engine. It could be all electric, which is obviously all electric, or it could be a hybrid, which would be internal combustion with a hybridized transmission setup with a radial electric motor right in back of the torque converter. And that would be very interesting. There could be other options for all-wheel drive in there for the internal combustions. I don't know, but yes, definitely for the electric setup. So let me tell you what my concerns are. The first answer to that is yes, and if my understanding of that platform is correct, it's meant for that application. The problem, though, is that you have to remember that an EV platform is extremely robust because it has to be able to manage large amounts of torque from a dead stop. That moment of inertia that has to be overcome is significant, to say the least. So presumably, you've got heavier duty stuff going into that type of a platform. The issue here is that adds weight. And these platforms, although possibly more modular than anything else, if they are going to be a true hybrid style platform, it kind of begs the question, well, is it going to be any good at being all electric at the expense of the internal combustion performance? Or are they going to try to beef up an internal combustion style platform to work with that type of a power output from the EV power plants? And then there's the other thing, with it being an 800 volt system, it doesn't have enough battery capacity to give you enough real range. So far as we can tell, at least if it's going off of what we've seen with the what is it, a Maserati? What is that thing? What Alfa Romeo, the Gran Turismo Alica Calzone, whatever it is, that one with the 800 watt, the 1200 horsepower and all of that, when you compare it to what the Tesla Plaid is, which is a 400 watt with like 105 kilowatt battery, versus this one with like a 120, but the range is only about half of what the Plaid is, because it's kind of like running two 60 kilowatt hour batteries in series, as opposed to running them in parallel. So there's a lot of like question marks going on here. You know, the folks that are in the know when it comes to EV are looking at it going, I don't know that that's going to be the best option that's out there. And the guys that are into the internal combustion, although they're not complaining that there could be a hybrid variant of the 500 horse Hurricane engine, they just don't know anything about anything that's coming out yet. And so we're all kind of left to just be a little bit confused and wonder what in the world is going on. Kind of a weird deal there. Sovereign saying he'd like to see the GLH. Just some get rid of some of the Hornets for sure. So we're saying a Hurricane Ram, that's what we're hoping for. Oh, Sovereign saying wants to see the Hurricane stacked up against the Hemi. I tell you what, the Hemi will get out on that i6 because you have to get the thing to spool up. If you just have your foot on the brake and whop the throttle, the Hemi's going to get out on it, but the i6, that twin turbo, is going to reel it in pretty quickly, especially once it hits about 3,700 RPM. Roman saying, did you see the 4x4 slip test video of the Hornet GT? No, I didn't. They put 3 wheels on rollers and the car went into limp mode. Oh, man. See what I mean? So what happens if you're on like a slippery surface, or you just want to go, you know, treat the car like a car and goof off with it? Sovereign saying, yeah, that i6 500 horse variant. Yeah, that's the one to look for in a Scat Pack. That thing would be pretty cool because it's lighter. It's a lighter engine. Sovereign's liking the idea of the all-wheel drive with the Hurricane. Yep. Oh, Mark's saying, if I remember correctly, Tim Kaniskis mentioned Hemis being able to fit right into the new Banshee. So while they might not give us one from the factory, I think that's one way of saying to swap out. Man, I don't know, you wouldn't have any warranty. I'll tell you that. Hey, you just look at these cars like cross-eyed, they void your warranty. So, although yes, I mean, technically just because of dimensional concerns, I bet it would fit, but you'd almost be better off with the i6 just from a weight standpoint. The only thing that bothers me about these new turbo engines, the main thing that bothers me about the new turbo engines is that is an awful lot of cylinder pressure. And again, y'all know what I always say, anything can be engineered, right? But dude, okay, look at it like this. This is what I want y'all to consider. What is the difference? You know, we've been told that the Demon C170 crate engine, or the Demon 170 engine, talk about 2,500 PSI of pressure and all this other stuff. But here, I want y'all to consider this. The 3-liter 500 horse variant is less than half the size of the 6.2 liter Demon engine. And yet it's making more than, or exactly, I should say, half of the horsepower that Demon engine is making. In essence, the Demon engine is making that power, and that's on E85, by the way. It needs E85 at a lower boost number, roughly 19, 20 pounds of boost, where the 500 horse Hurricane is at 26 pounds of boost. So again, you can kind of see where I'm going with this. It's kind of a strange way to look at it. I get it, but that Hurricane on a, horsepower per cubic inch or whatever, how you want to look at it, the power in general is on par with what the 170 is making. It tells you how much is going into that engine, and for it to be able to do that on 91 octane, no less, tells me that thing might have a little bit of potential. Oh, someone's saying, oh, Mark, that would be pretty awesome. Oh, I'm saying, if Dodge can sell crate engines that aren't carb compliant, why do the stage kits have to be? It's a very good question. It's a legitimate question to ask. The reason why is because the crate engines can be installed into cars that are basically emissions exempt. They're treated as a repower. And in many states, your car is only emissions tested based on the year that it is. In most states, basically they say after 20 or 25 years, I think there might be one that is 15, there aren't any emissions tests any longer. And so because of that, you can have crate engines as a repower option. But the stage kits, because they're sold to road going cars, have to be emissions and carb compliant. Dad saying i6 will sound like shit. Man, I don't know, dude. I've heard some inline sixes that sounded really good. So it just depends on what you like. I mean, listen to what the old Jags sounded like. Supra, RB26, RB25. There's some really good sounding inline sixes. So, but no, it'll never have that America sound of the V8, and that's kind of a bummer. But it's not to say that it's a bad thing. It'll certainly sound better than a V6, that's for sure. So, let's see. It's saying top of the evening. It should say, Rum's asking, is a swap possible? The Banshee won't have a trans differential tunnel, I don't think. It may depend on the setup that you've got. I mean, anything can be fabricated, but the reality is that, I don't know that it would do, I don't know if it would do you any justice to do it. But I mean, like I say, anything's possible. You can cut that transmission tunnel out, put whatever you want in there. And, as long as you have a controller that can manage the V8, I don't see it being a problem. Chuck's saying just get the i6, then drop in a Elephant crate engine. Could do that. Absolutely. Dad saying Barra 6, best sounding of all. They sound really good. If you haven't ever heard one, there's, overseas, it comes from Australia, and I don't understand why we did not ever get this engine. It's a large inline six, a 4-liter inline turbo 6-cylinder. And dude, they got 6-second cars, if not faster, running around with that Barra engine. It's pretty nasty. Mark saying, if somebody wants to swap a car bad enough, they'll do it. Remember those Hellcat Miatas? They were running around out there. But again, it just kind of begs the question, guys. I mean, we've been working with Dodge now for how long? And all of us that have been in this aftermarket, either tuning or, the mechanical stuff, whatever the case may be, we've been the ones that have been helping to further the brand along every bit as much as Dodge. I mean, even Dodge even admitted as much. Kaniskas did anyway. Well, we know, what kind of percentage of these people are tuning or modifying or doing whatever these cars, hence the stage kits, which I will talk about that now. So the stage kits, one of the things that you have to understand about the stage kits, and I've had a number of you guys reach out and have asked about stage kits. What do I think about them? What kind of performance gains could we really be looking at? And I've talked about this a couple of times on the channel, but one of the things about the stage kits is that, yes, they have to be emissions compliant, which means that component protection is aggressive in those tunes. Presumably, I haven't seen a read file, and I haven't seen a data log on them. So I can't tell you how aggressive the component protection is. I can't tell you, in other words, when does it go super rich because of catalytic converter overtemp. There's a lot that I can see in a data log that will immediately tell me what's going on with that tune. It's super, it's super easy to see when you're looking at it. But again, nobody's got a data log on it yet. And you can talk about, well, it did this on a dyno or whatever. That's completely irrelevant. Let me tell you why. If the stage kit, which by the way, for the red eyes, you lose your 808 or whatever tune completely. It goes from that to the 837. That's your new baseline tune. If that tune goes into cat overtemp like that, if it goes into cat protect mode, then it's not really making that power. It's like it can make that power provided it doesn't go into component protection mode and go to like 9.5 to 1 AFR, which brings me to the next question, which is, why don't these things come with injectors? I'm really concerned with that, because if you live in Maryland, if you live in Texas, if you live in some case in Florida, lower lying, low density altitude areas, and you put one of these stage kits on your car, yeah, it's supposed to retain the warranty, but I'm afraid this thing is going to start going into injector duty cycle protection mode, which is where if the injector duty cycle gets to a certain level, it starts pulling, it'll open up the bypass and start chopping throttle. And the whole reason for that is because you're overdriving the injectors. And so I'm curious to see, okay, how are they getting away with putting a pulley on a car and not putting injectors on it? What kind of component protection is being employed for this particular operating system? And is that same protocol active when you're on race gas? It's just kind of confusing. And the thing is that I have more faith in some aftermarket tuners that know what they're doing and have been doing this stuff for a long time. I mean, you got Alex Pites, Z is out there, Josh over at HHP. You've got guys that have been doing this stuff for a long time that know how to put together combinations that work and that are safe. And every one of the guys that I'm talking about would never let a pulleyed car leave, especially nowadays, unless it had injectors. So anyway, there's that to consider. And, really, what'll end up happening with these things? I have no idea. I would love to get some more or get some data. I know that there's more of these kits that are going out all the time. And so, it'll just be a matter of time before I can get a read file. But as soon as I do, I'll let you guys know what I see. Oh. Is this thing still working? Is it still working? I think I lost the feed, guys. Shoot. Hang on. Yeah, I think I lost it.